Okay, so color-wise, I went to on the foliage on this tree, mostly burnt sienna, a hint of yellow ochre and white, and some raw umber in the dark areas mixed in. This little poof here is incorporating some of these colors into these colors to come up with these colors, a bit of a transition. I think as we get off to the right hand side on this tree, I'm going to stay more with the greenish. It's a bit green, it's really only a bit green because it's yellow ochre and raw umber and white. But we're going to stay in that direction because if I have this as the single solitary greenest tree, this will still stand out too much. So I'm going to sort of I'm going to try to go a little towards the greens, but there's going to be a bunch of this in it as well, mostly because it's on the edge of the canvas, and I don't want to draw too much attention to it. We're not going to have it catch too much light, not on the top anyway. Just in a few spots here and there. Now remember, I'm staying fairly flat in my colors right now, but we'll give them some depth in a little bit here. I probably won't take you with me through this entire tree because, to be honest with you, I'm getting kind of sick of working on the trees right now. And I'm kind of getting in the mood for something a little more vigorous. So I'll probably play in the ground here shortly. But I did want to just explain to you my thinking regarding this tree on the edge. Wanting it to melt a little bit into the background. But not too much. Don't want too many lines. Don't want them to appear too outlined. The odd line for definition is great, but that's not our main concern at the moment. Even here, I'm going to lighten this edge. You know, this is a bit stiff and blocky looking. You know, pushing back, and then this one's a little softer. This one's a little softer yet, which is good as trees get pushed into the background. You need to have some sort of transition between well-defined, vivid trees and as you go back into this bush, because of course everything in behind here is very ill-defined. There's some general shapes, but not much. When I get to the end of the painting, I may just lay in the odd little bit of trunk, just indication of trunk here and there, to help bring, you know, to help marry the foreground to the background. I'm not even really sure what I'm going to do with this, how I'm going to manage this. It's not going to be difficult, I'm just not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so sort of in the shade back there. It's going to have a few light spots on it, not much though. I think that's the right color. I may still, I may even take the odd bit of this very burnt sienna and white combination and put the odd fleck of it on this tree. Again, in order to unify things. Those are things that we worry about towards the end of the paint. Okay, so just for the fun of it now, well, the fun of it, just as a break from these trees, I'd like to lay in a little bit of color here. So just talking about still this tree being maybe a little too strong on its own. What supports this, as I've mentioned it as I've referred to it before, as a goalpost, is the fact that this is on a rise, we come to here, and this is on a rise. The top of that rise is directly below that, so it draws your attention to it more. I'd like to undermine that a little bit more, and we're using similar colors to here, but I am going to add a little more alizarin crimson to it. Let's see, let me establish that. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. So, I don't want to go too red, so I won't go more in alizarin crimson now or more in burnt sienna. I'm going to go to the yellow ochre a little bit. And given that yellow ochre is a little too high value, what do we have here? Don't want to go too red, I don't want to go too green. I'm just getting my bearings right now. Okay, it goes off the painting. That's probably not too bad. Alright, we have our peak here. I don't want that peak here. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to switch knives because this is too small a knife for the broader strokes. Whoops. I don't mind being in the reds, I just don't want it too red. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, okay, a little bit of raw umber added to it. And as we come down, I'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson again, and some white, transitioning into weaker colors as we get to the edge of our canvas here. A little less defined. Less defined, but we don't want weak strokes either. Okay, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson. alizarin crimson and a little bit of raw umber. You know, the light is reflecting, being caught here a little bit. Now we start to go a little bit dark. There won't be much of a transition here. We're going from light to dark, high chroma to low chroma. Here we gradually do it. Again, alizarin crimson. And ultramarine blue. Raw umber. Going a little bit greenish, but very toned down. Okay, so I have, you know, some narrow strokes, some wider strokes, a little bit wider. We come to the corner, we're going to have wide strokes. You know, no more foreshortening. We're going to, it's right in front of us, so those strokes have to be good and strong. A little shot of cobalt blue. How about some cobalt blue and burnt sienna? That makes for a greenish gray. I'm not even worrying about doing this anymore. I'm beginning to change directions a little bit. Omnidirectional. Just getting that filled in. Okay, a little more of the same. And now, I may as well use a roller because I'm just cleaning up the edge. That is it. Okay, I guess I am reverting back to my a few vertical strokes here. Alright, leave some breaks in it. Go up here a little bit. Let's see, I think I would just like to put a little more light. I don't want it to get too washed out. There I go, too much detail again. In danger of it, at least. Okay, that takes care of this. You know, there may be still, as we move along, the odd spot that needs a little bit of touching. You know, it might end up being a little too coarse as it sits, but we're not going to worry about that. Not now. So I think you can see that overall, running this hill back here, back up, without a break here of any sort dipping or rising below this trunk, has diminished the importance of this trunk. I'm happy with it. Well, I decided to get involved in these. This is going to be some bedrock showing in the foreground. In the spirit of keeping this all fairly cool and dark, except for, of course, everything in the foreground will still catch up here and there, or pick up here and there. A little reflection of the warm, lighter colors in the distance, but I thought I'd like to get some shape in here. So we may as well start dark, obviously, right off the bat, and I think what I might even do is take the knife and reiterate some of these lines that I put in with the brush when I washed it in. I'm using ultramarine blue and raw umber. This may not end up being all of the bedrock that shows, but this is, you know, I'm sort of outlining the bulk of what's going to be here. I don't think that I'm going to darken again every line that I have there, but a select number of them. Let's see, that goes like so. That's going to go like so. That's going to go like so. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of refining the idea of this bulk of rock being rounded, right? Because I started off with arcs like this, and then they're sharper, and then they change direction, and you know, that sort of gives it that roundish feel. So I'm really just drawing again at the moment. I didn't want a line like this lining up with this tree, so I've managed to sort of, and I didn't want this one, you know, terminating right below the tree. So in general, trying to keep the broadest piece of rock showing right here. And I don't want it to be too symmetrical, really. Just trying to keep it sort of interesting. Now, what did I have here? I actually had something that I liked as well. And that was this area See this line? That would be closer. On this side of the line, of this line, will be darker and a little further away. I think what we'll do is start with, just add a hint of white to this. Right now I'm just raw umber and ultramarine blue. I'm adding a hint of white to the mixture and increasing my amount of ultramarine blue as well. I'm going to add even a little more ultramarine blue. I don't mind if it's a strong ultramarine blue. That works for me just fine. Part of the same bedrock, but it's almost as though there's a layer underneath this cap that has gone a little, it's more mineralized. It's a bit difficult to, well, maybe you know what I'm talking about. I'm not always that articulate. Mostly I'm thinking about what I'm doing and spending less time trying to formulate thoughts here. Thoughts that I can express. But this slice of blue will interact very nicely with the yellows, you know. It also is going to, of course, be in tune with some of the blues that will show up on various trunks. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have some strong ultramarine there. Now we'll switch to this cap that sits over that, and we'll switch to cobalt blue. Greener and colder blue. And we'll go a little higher in value as well. Gonna start out, yeah, raw umber and cobalt blue. Gonna start out a little bit. Whoops. Bit on the brown side. I don't want this to go too blue. If I do that, then this rock will become so strong it'll compete with this. We know cobalt blue, it's a pretty it's a beautiful blue. Sometimes it's too beautiful, so you need to kind of temper where you use it. We'll add a hint of burnt sienna to that. We want to keep some variety in our colors here. Oops. Okay. Boy, when you get to the foreground like this, you're making some strong strokes. You sure do start to go through the paint. How's that? See, that's well, it's okay, I guess. I was going to say it's getting quite blue, but that's all right. It's borderline. There. I make sure my strokes stay strong. Okay. More raw umber. Bring it a little closer to me here. Find that if I can adjust it a little bit at a different angle, I can keep my head out of the way of the camera. Of course, That's not where I wanted that white at all. It's okay, I'll take it down a notch. Let's dip into that. Let's dip into that a little bit. I can afford to go a little lighter there. Playing with varieties of or different ratios of cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, raw umber. You know, so the striation of the rock is kind of doing this, or rather the cracks in the rocks are doing this to indicate shape. Striation is in many cases doing this. So, you know, vary your direction a little bit. I don't mind putting small changes here and there, but I really don't want to make it too interesting. This is supportive. You know, it has to be an identifiable feature. You want to know what it is. But it certainly doesn't have to be very important. In fact, we kind of want to avoid drawing too much attention to it. So, okay. That's all right. I think I'll take a bit of raw umber here. And a hint of cobalt blue, and a little more white. This will be quite gray. I'm applying this very with a light touch. I'm just putting a little bit of detail in a few spots here. Again, I'll just refresh that pile. Whoops, got junk in there. Okay, a little more white. See, so yes, I'm throwing paint in on top of the other paint. I mean, I painted the rock, as in gave it a first coat to establish its colors. Now we're giving it a few hints of detail. Kind of touchy stuff. It's okay. Okay, let's just... Okay, so we laid it on. That gave it substance, character, and shape. Added a few details to give it personality. How about that? Let's call it personality. But I'm going to get rid of this division between this and that. Let's break that line a little bit. Let's give this little crack here ultramarine blue and purple alizarin crimson. Just a bit, okay? Just variety of color. Again, it's one of those small things that does help to make the painting appear a little more rich. No, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, let's just stand up and have a look at that. Okay, let's give you the dead-on shot again. Squeak, squeak, jumble, jumble, shake, shake, mess, mess. Okay. Now you can see the subjective role of that rock and of the way the foreground is taking shape. All right, see you next time.